Hello, my name is Vida, and this is my Orange Gate Mentor Review presentation for the MIT Cre program. The goal of the project is to make it possible for Levi, a kid named Levi, to be able to play the Forza car games. Levi has cerebral palsy, and due to that he's excluded from playing video games with his family and friends. His user needs statement is I want to be able to play Forza on Xbox. Forza is a car racing game where you can both race against time and you can also race online. And so Forza is generally played on an Xbox controller, but if you have limited hand function, it's really hard to use the buttons on it and to play Forza. So the musts of this project are I want to make an add-on to a controller thanks to which all buttons on the Xbox controller can be used by Levi with his hand function. Second of all, it must be non-destructive to the controller. The reason for that is because I want it to be able to be modifiable to fit Levi's needs more as time goes by, or if another version has to be created. And of course it has to be robust so it can withstand the test of time. Nice to haves would be ease of removability. That would be good because then the rest of the family could also play on their Xbox when Levi's not using it, just by easily removing the add-on to the controller. Just the basic engineering thing is to have it make the design as simple as possible to limit the amount of parts needed. And a low cost, I think, is also really important because, for example, the official Xbox adaptive gaming controller seems like a really good alternative, but it costs $200, which is a lot, and especially a lot if somebody just wants to try out playing a video game. So the last thing is a modular design would be nice to have. So a special version could be created for other video games and to make it easily replaceable if something breaks. So this is what it currently looks like. It's a non-destructive Xbox controller mount that is 3D printed completely. So it's a top and bottom plate go onto the Xbox controller and just bring the triggers up and make the joysticks or make the buttons joystick based. So this is what it looks like 3D printed and in real life. So a quick rundown on what everything does on there. So first of all, the back triggers. These are in the Forza car game are used for gas and braking. And so if an Xbox controller is placed on the table, it's really hard to access these buttons even if you have complete hand function. So the solution is to bring these like gas pedal things up higher where you can push it without having to grab back. The same thing happens with the bumpers, which just get pulled up there. And then finally the buttons and the D-pad can also be really hard to use if you have limited hand function. So those are just turned into joysticks. And so the reason for that, or the use of that, is so just by flicking the joystick left or right, up or down, you can press all the buttons that have to be pressed. And so why this? Well, some of the benefits of this design is, first of all, due to it being 3D printed, it's easily customizable and upgradable, which is also really important. Second of all, I have access to a 3D printer, so it makes it possible for me to create this. It's also electronics free. Electronics aren't inherently a bad thing, but since I'm trying to keep the costs down, I think that this is a really good bonus, or a good way to reach it. And then finally, due to the above, and due to it being 3D printed and made in-house, its cost should also be low. So some of the possible risks of this project. Well, one that I've heard quite a bit is that we don't want Levi to get addicted to video games. And that's true. But at the same time, I don't believe that computer usage necessarily entails addiction, nor do I believe that just by making something more accessible does something have to become necessarily addicting. And there can be measures to prevent it. The second point is that when choosing what to make the controller add-on out of, it has to be a 3D printer plastic that if the chance that it does break, does not break with sharp edges. The third possible risk, is that some 3D printer plastics leach chemicals after prolonged use, but there's a simple solution to that, namely not using those plastics. And so I actually took this controller testing with Levy, and there's some good news and some bad news. The good news is that engineering-wise, it worked, so everything stayed together, and it was usable. But the big problem is that it's not the right fit for Levy. By that, I mean that the previous design was designed in a way so that somebody could use it if they had, let's say, a bit less coordinated hands, or let's say chronically cramped hands. But it turns out that what I think is Levy's, or what to the best of my knowledge what Levy's problem is, he's only able to use one hand at a time, also less coordinated one hand at a time. And so that doesn't, that's a problem, because to play the Forza car games, both the back trigger has to be pressed and this joystick has to be turned to steer. So the plan is to just simply link the back button and the joysticks together. So by moving the back trigger, by pushing the left and right with one hand, that will be coupled to the left trigger, and therefore it would also move that. So the next steps are to design and print this new version and then take it to test with Levy. And then, as for the team, I am currently the only one in my team. I am looking for other teammates to join me. Next steps, as I said, to create a new version and retest. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comments. And besides that, thank you so much and have a great day.